A number of you have been asking for a chicken update. So I thought we'd go say hello to these people, these chickens. They're doing really well. They're about 5.5 months old, and the 2 roosters have started crowing. There's one. That's Emerald. And let's let you guys in. Watch out, guys. All right. Hold on. I brought, oh, here's our other rooster. So there's Obsidian. And here's Emerald. Emerald is our sweetheart. Emerald loves massages. Emerald loves getting touched and held, which is really nice. But Emerald is also very food, not aggressive, but like has to be in the front to get the food. All right, I brought them some worms. Ready? Oh yeah. So as you can see, they're all almost full-sized. So this one right here is one of our older Orpingtons. And then, let's see, these 2 are older ones. You can see there's a little bit of a size difference, although this one is one that will stay a little smaller. But they are so close to full size now, and hopefully they'll start laying soon. No eggs yet, but I wasn't really expecting them till at least 6 months. All right, let's give them a few more. Not from the bag. Here, take them from my hand. Here. Oh, you just want it from the ground? Topaz? Sometimes they get your fingers. They don't hurt. It just kind of startles you. These are mealworms, dried mealworms. We call them chicken crack because that's how they behave around them. Let's see if I can get a better shot. They keep following me because they know I have the chicken crack. That's Topaz. Silly chickens. I know, it looks like mud here, but this is just their inner coop where they've taken all the greens. We also have out there, you can probably hear it clicking, their electric fence that we move around. We've got their little doorway. We move that around to give them more greens. So I'm not a bad chicken mama, I promise. They get all kinds of treats. So there's the chicken update. They're doing well. They're getting big. Emerald is crowing and sounds just like Tarzan in the way he crows. It's really funny. And Obsidian has started crowing, but just in the last couple of days. And if any of you have never heard a first chicken crow, it's kind of like a boy's voice cracking, a human boy's voice cracking. It's a very sad crow. But in the next week or 2, it will become stronger and really beautiful. Hello, beautiful friends. I hope you are all doing well. Thank you for joining me on this very rainy October Saturday. I'm not sure what day in Saturday it is. The 9th or 10th? All the days are kind of getting away from me, and I have no idea what episode number this is, but welcome. We are downstairs in the office today because it's raining outside and the tin roof is noisy upstairs, so hopefully you guys can hear me all right. It's probably been about a month since we last talked, and since then I had my big shop update, and I want to thank every single one of you for being such great supporters. I really, really appreciate it. We raised enough money to sponsor almost 3 people to take classes in ecoprinting, natural dyeing. As soon as I start classes again, I'll be able to sponsor some people to take those classes and get all the goodies that go along with the classes for free. So thank you so much. Also, a few of you contributed to the gift collection, which I really appreciate. I'm still working with a few. I want to gather everything, and then I'm working with some local organizations to get those donated to people in need. So thank you all so much. There's still a lot left in the shop, so feel free to take a look. Naturally dyed yarns, a few eco-printed things, and lots of teas. So enjoy those. I hope your October is going well so far. I've been definitely feeling the fall, that fall giddiness coming around. I kept thinking, gosh, it's getting chillier, though it's not been that cold. We haven't had any freezing days yet. October 15th is usually our first potential, day that we might have freezing weather. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen. It's not supposed to get below about 45 degrees on the 15th. And then I started seeing people posting pictures in Asheville of all the beautiful leaves changing. I was like, nothing's changing out here. And then I remembered, because I'm not getting out of the house much, we have poplars and oak out here, so nothing gets much more than brown. We have a couple of maple trees that get a little bit of color, but I need to get out and into the mountains and see, because the color is definitely starting to change out there, which I absolutely love. So first I was going to tell you about the one thing I've been knitting on. I'm still working on my sweater pattern. I don't know what I'm going to call it. I've decided what I've been doing as I'm writing it is I'm writing a really long blog post with how every measurement I took, how I calculated how many stitches I need for what areas, all related to my personal sweater. So it's kind of a recipe that you can follow along, but depending on if you have a large breast, if you have a large chest, or large breasts, plural, or if you have an ample backside, or you have narrow shoulders, or whatever, that you often need to adjust your sweaters for that. There are kind of tips in that section of this is where you'd need to add stitches and stuff like that, but it would definitely, I think it's definitely something more for someone who's knit a number of sweaters and would know this is where I need to adjust the fit, and yeah, it's not a pattern, but hopefully it will be helpful. And I'm also gonna, I'm videoing every time I get to a new stopping point kind of with the sweater, so you can see what I'm doing. So here it is. So far, I just attached the sleeves, and I'm very excited about it. So here it is. The bottom has a bit of a kind of a stair-step design that I did with the little 2-stitch cables. It matches the same cable that's going up the arm. And then I'm just doing raglan decrease because that works well for me. It's almost the same type of decrease that I have on this sweater. And I think when I get to the top, I'm going to bring it up a little higher, since this will be probably for cooler weather. I think I'm just going to do a simple garter stitch along the top. So there it is so far. I really love it. I absolutely love the color. I never wear yellow. It's never been a color that I've really liked, but I really love this one, so I hope it looks okay on me. If not, maybe Kyle will want it, or I can dye it. But I love, love, love the color, so hopefully it'll look all right. Maybe I just need makeup or lipstick or something. I don't know. We'll see. But that's where I am. Yeah, I tell all the details about it in the video that I'm making, but it's coming along well. I keep this next to me and often put it on the kitchen table. And so when we're eating dinner, I'll take it and move it so it's not sitting at the table. So last week I took it and I placed it over by the little heating pad that we have for Isabella. It was partially on the heating pad, and it just stayed there overnight. When I came back the next morning, I grabbed it so I could work out in the morning, and I grabbed it like this, and I was like, it's soaking wet. Why is it all wet? And my first thought was a cat peed in it. Because we have 4 cats, and some of them have been known to pee in areas they're not supposed to pee. But it smelled like, it smelled fragrant, like in a lovely way. Then I realized I'd put a soap in there, because I often put wool soaps in the bags just to keep the knitting smelling pretty. And the whole thing had melted. And so there was just like oil all over this, all over the heating pad, and luckily it was not on the sweater. It was on, I don't know if I have it still. Yeah, it was all over this. So this is the little sample that I did for the sock. So I immediately took everything out, wiped it down, threw this in the wash because I had just started a load of laundry, and then soaked this with a little, I didn't think it's going to need any soap because it already had soap in it, and hot water. And it didn't look soapy at all. Like I expected it to get really frothy because there was so much soap in it. So I took it out and gave it a squeeze, and like this thick oil came out in my hands, and I realized that it wasn't a soap that I had in there. It looked like a soap and smelled like a soap, but it was a wax cube, like some kind of scented wax. It'd been given to me, so I just assumed it was a soap. So now this thing was full of wax. You can see it's still kind of stiff. I washed it as much as I could to try and get all the wax out, but it's, for a while there, it was like cardboard. And this I grabbed immediately. As soon as I figured it out, I grabbed it out of the wash because I didn't want the wax to get all over our clothes, and luckily it didn't. But I'm so glad it didn't get on the sweater, because if it had, it would have completely ruined it. I would have had to just take the whole thing out. But now, what I did after I dried this is I went back and I took the back of a spoon and I rubbed it all over the bottom of the thing, and now I have kind of like a waxed canvas bag. You can see the difference in the color a little bit, and you can definitely feel the texture, and of course it smells like that wax, but it luckily didn't really ruin anything. I just can't ever put this on anything hot, because if I do, whatever's in it is going to get wax on it. And this was I have a lot of bags. This was one of the favorites, just because I love the little library theme. But yeah, luckily everything was saved. I was pretty upset for a while because I thought it's all going to be ruined, and I'm so glad there was nothing on this. I checked it really well to make sure. So thank you to everyone who has applied or signed up to be a part of the herbs and tea swap, the winter tea swap. We've got people from Canada and lots of countries in Europe and from the United States, so I really appreciate you all. We had so much fun last year doing it. If you signed up, go and check the Ravelry group, because all of the groups have been listed there. I only had 2 people who sent me direct messages through email. One of them was also on Ravelry, so she signed up. If you sent me a message only through email, I tried contacting you a few times but never heard back. So check your emails if you still want to be a part of it. 'Cause, I can slide you into one of the groups, but I need to know where you're from and what group to put you in. So yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I've been reading a few books lately to try and help Leaf kind of come down from the day, since he's on the screen so much with virtual schooling. After school, we'll try and get outside and run around, and at night by 9 o'clock, he and I both lay down in the big bed and read. He calls it his 15 minutes of meditation. Though he's not meditating, he's reading. It's funny, he'll lay down and you can see him going, like taking a big breath. Like, he kind of thinks that's meditation, but I'm like, go for it. You take your big breaths and calm down, because he's been having a hard time staying on the screen so much. But a few of the things I've been reading, I've got here because I wanted to share them with you, because I'm really excited about them. The first one I picked up when I started getting more into mushrooms this year, and it's called The Rainbow Beneath My Feet, a Mushroom Dyer's Field Guide, and I will put a link to it below. And really, it's a short section in the beginning about natural dyeing and how to dye with mushrooms, and then a bunch of information about, along with photos, all about the mushrooms that she talks about in this book. So I really like it. I've already found a number that I'm like, well, it's just a brown mushroom, but it makes red, or it makes blue, or something. It's really exciting. So I've already got it scheduled next week to go outside for a mushroom walk, because after all the rain today and tomorrow, probably by Tuesday or Wednesday, we're going to have some lovely mushrooms up. And we've been finding so much. it's just been, I don't know if I'm just more aware of it this year or if it really has been a really good mushroom year. But we've found probably 5 or 6 different edibles that I know there's more, but I don't know them well enough to be comfortable eating them. But we've got oyster mushrooms and black trumpets and chanterelles and chicken of the woods and the white puffball mushrooms. And so that's been a lot of fun. But now I can look at all the others that I don't know if it's something I want to eat, or if they're not edible, they might also still produce really cool color. So that's been a nice one. The next one I've been reading is called African American Slave Medicine, Herbal and Non-Herbal Treatments. And this one really interested me because there is very little history of any kind written from, especially in the United States, from anything other than the white man's perspective. So this was information that was gathered mostly through interviews of elderly black folks after slavery had ended, but they either themselves when they were children were enslaved, or their parents or grandparents, and so they either were a part of what was going on at the time, or they had heard firsthand stories. So it talks a lot about the medicines that took place and what kind of doctoring was given to the enslaved people at that time, which is really, really cool, because there's a lost connection between medicine from homelands or older lands that was brought to the United States, and how it then continued on here in the United States. If it was medicine brought from a white man's home to another white man's home, then it's a pretty direct line. But because there's very little information about black medicine that's written from the black voice, you don't hear, like, you might get a white man's written description of what he thought some of his enslaved people used, but it's very different when it comes directly from the people. So this has been really interesting, and I'm enjoying learning about the remedies and how they treated themselves to stay healthy, or how often they treated the people who enslaved them, because sometimes they were the doctors and the caretakers of the people on the plantation or the people where they lived. The last one that I'm getting into is called The Lost Art of Reading Nature's Signs, Using Outdoor Clues to Find Your Way, Predict the Weather, Locate Water, Track Animals, and Other Forgotten Skills. And this one's it's a big one. There's a lot of stuff in here, and it's really interesting, and it has some really interesting facts. But it's been hard for me to dig into late at night when I need a relaxing read, because oftentimes it's and it's a little more technical. So I want to still get into it because I think it's got some really cool information, but I think I might need to be doing it as daytime reading. So anyway, that is the third one I've been reading. I'll put those all below in case any of those sound interesting to you. A little later on today, I'm going to be making what's called fire cider. Some of you may have heard of it. I'll put the link to the recipe below. It's a pretty simple recipe with household kitchen items like ginger, garlic, oranges, some horseradish is one of the main ingredients. You might need to go get that. But I actually planted horseradish in my garden years ago and hadn't dug it up, and noticed that there's 3 horseradish plants coming up in that area, and I actually found one way far away in another part of the garden. So I decided this year was time to dig it up, especially with the pandemic going around. Why not do whatever I can to support my immune system? So because of all the warming plants or foods and herbs that are in there, it really gets your circulation working, which is good, because that then carries the bad stuff out, refreshes the blood, keeps the blood moving to your fingertips and your toes, keeps your brain circulation going better. And they also have herbs in it that are good to help keep your immune system strong. One thing, fire cider is something that's been around for I don't know how long. I learned about it probably 25 years ago from a woman named Rosemary Gladstar, and that's the recipe I'll link to. And it was kind of always a folk remedy, something that people would put together with whatever they had in the kitchen to be able to increase the circulation and warm your body up at that first sign of illness. You know, that little bit of a tingle in the throat or just feeling a little bit down, you'd take your fire cider to kind of perk your immune system up and get your blood moving. But probably 5 or 6 years ago, an herbal company came out with a medicine that they bottled up that they called and trademarked fire cider. And so hundreds of other herbalists, if not thousands, who were making things that they called fire cider were no longer able to call it fire cider. But this has been like a people's remedy for years. So long story short, they went through the courts and were able to get that revoked so that they could call it fire cider again. It was silly to just, like, this company could have named it whatever they wanted, but they called it the popular people's name for it. So it was kind of like a little herbal revolution to claim their medicine back. So anyway, I will have that recipe down below for you. I often add more things to it, like oranges and lemons and thyme and basil and other things that I have in the kitchen that might be either good for the immunity or increase vitamin C. So it's an easy recipe to add to, but usually it at least has onion, garlic, and horseradish, and it's made with honey and vinegar, apple cider vinegar. I am not a lover of spicy things, so it's not my favorite thing to take, but I know it's good for us, and sometimes it's fun to get that kick of heat when you're feeling like you're starting to get thick or cold. You know what I mean? That feeling sometimes that you get when you're starting to get sick and you just feel thick. I don't know how else to describe it. So I'll be making that later today, and I'll take some pictures and post the recipe below so you can make it also. It takes 4 weeks to sit and macerate before you strain it out, so now's a great time to make it so that by the time the cold weather really hits, you've got it ready to go. The last thing I wanted to do today is I would really love to have a giveaway. I feel like it's been months since I shared some things with you, and I have a number of things that I wanted to share. First, I have some apple cider donut tea. I will, all of this is going to go to one person. Apple cider donut tea, this is the one that I made for the Rhinebeck Festival last year, and it tastes kind of like apple cider donuts. I have some absolutely gorgeous fluorite and amazonite stitch markers from Time Weaver. They're a really beautiful aqua blue-green. It's hard to see right now with the camera because of the fall light and the rain. It seems really orange in here. But they're really beautiful, and she uses semi-precious stones for those. Then I have 2 Making Stories magazines, one from fall 2020 and one from spring 2020. Beautiful magazines I've talked about a number of times on here, and you know I love them, so I wanted to give away these 2 for you guys to work with and work some beautiful patterns through. This is the one that has my most recent shawl pattern in it. And then last but not least, I wanted to give you one of the salves that I used to make called the Vaporizer. And it's kind of like, if any of you guys remember Vicks Vapo Rub, when I was a kid, it was this super strong menthol thing made with petroleum jelly, I think, and you'd put it on your chest or below your nose if you could stand that menthol that close when you were feeling congested or you had a cough or you weren't feeling great. It helped to open up your lungs. This is an herbal one that's made with cocoa butter and shea butter and olive oil and then a bunch of other herbs and essential oils. And it smells really good, but it is similarly to Vicks Vapo Rub, something that you'll want to wash your hands after you put it on, because if you put it on yourself and then you wipe your eyes, it does have menthol in it, but it smells much better than Vicks. So all of those are going to be going to one person, and here's how you enter. Down below, I would like you to leave a comment to tell me how you're going to be celebrating Halloween. And if you don't celebrate, you could just say, I don't celebrate. But we can't really go trick-or-treating this year. We can't have a party with friends. It's kind of the halfway point between it is the halfway point between the first day of fall and the first day of winter. And I love celebrating Halloween. So some of the things we were thinking of doing in our house is carving pumpkins, maybe having a bonfire, watching spooky movies, making pie, drinking apple cider, making sweet treats. We were even thinking of doing like our own version of Chopped, but with friends, where I'd send out like a list of 4 or 8 ingredients, and everybody would have to get that beforehand. And then during the day, at some point, there'll be a go point and a stopping point, like 1 hour, where you have to prepare something, either a main dish or a dessert with those ingredients that I sent out. And then you share it on a Zoom room, or you send pictures to each other, so everyone can feel like they're kind of doing stuff together. So that was a thought that I had, something we'd do on Halloween. It's on a Saturday, I believe, and it's a full moon, so we can take the time to kind of spend the day being together and doing stuff. So, what are you thinking about doing this Halloween for a little fall celebration or Halloween celebration? If you'll write that down below, then you will be entered in the contest to win this. I do have to limit this to just in the States, unfortunately, because all of this would cost me a pretty penny to send out to Europe or even Canada. So if you're in the States and can participate, that would be great. So I think that's it. I hope you all are doing really well. I was supposed to be participating in the SAF Festival, this Southeastern Animal Fiber Festival, at the end of October, but as with most festivals, it was canceled. They are putting together, if you're on Facebook, they are putting together a whole weekend where the vendors are going to be getting on and doing live chats about their farms or talking about their products, and you can meet all the vendors there. I'm not on Facebook, so they were kind enough to allow me to make a little video that they'll put up during the weekend. So I will have a link to the Facebook group, and if you're on there and want to check it out, you'll be able to see everything that was going on at the SAF Festival, or all the vendors that would have been there, and meet some of them virtually. All right, I hope your fall has been going well, and I hope it only gets better. I will chat with you guys soon. Love you.